the argument is that it is to deal with the externalities of utilizing fossil fuels in a world that is actually changing to renewables. So we definitely might actually be in this thing for quite a considerable period to come.
So no good news.
And CS just told us that the stabilization fund does not have money. So
in fact, the then industrialization minister CS Moses Kuria did tweet last month, and he said prices are likely to go up to even up to 250 by February. Is there some truth to that?
There could be. If you're looking at what I just mentioned, the medium-term plan strategy, then first and foremost, we saw government had taken a really hard stance with regards to that, and specifically reviewing the excise fees on fuel. But considering that through refined product, that is one of the easiest avenues for government to generate income to offset some of this debt that we have accrued over time, then it only does make sense for us to go that way. But I would then foresee a situation where government feels pity on its citizenry to then tap into the stabilization fund, considering that we are actually paying there's actually some money that's going into that particular fund every single time we actually fuel at the petrol station. Yes.
And even in a recent meeting by the Petroleum Institute of East Africa conference, the minister was talking about which minister was it? It was the finance minister who was talking about the bottom-up economic transformation agenda and how the government is looking to place policies to deepen PPPs and look for opportunities in the sector. What opportunities are there in this sector right now for Kenya?
Well, I think first and foremost, there's one thing that we had started as a country, and that was essentially getting an investor to undertake exploration of hydrocarbon quantities in Kenya. Not just one. In this case, I'm focusing on Talo Oil and its project in Turkana. But most importantly, we've seen an increase in the number of oil and gas areas that are being set aside for exploration. So I think in as much as the current government regime has come out to say that by 2030 we will have made 100% transition to renewables, there's still extensive opportunities when it comes to the development of fossil fuels. And simply because if you look at the South Lokicha oil basin, for instance, Talo has come out to say that recoverable quantities of crude oil stand at an estimated 585 million barrels of crude oil. However, peak production values against the development plan stand at around 900 plus million barrels. In an area that we have been told that we have commercial quantities of crude oil, which we refer to as the stock oil in place, that stand at around 4 billion barrels. So that is crude oil that can actually, and specifically looking at the revenues, we can actually definitely utilize those particular revenues to advance our investments in renewables, as well as just invest in research and development that can see us make this transition to renewables and others. Yes.
And do you feel the commitment by government in creating favorable policies and regulatory framework, especially when it comes to enhancing competition efficiency? Do you feel that commitment?
Yeah, I do believe in the last I think about decade or so, we have seen an exponential rate of governance frameworks that have been developed. We now have the Petroleum Act 2019. Before we were making reference to the Petroleum Exploration and Development Act, Cap 38 of 1986. We have the Energy Act of 2019. We now have the Climate Change Amendment Act of 2023. So in terms of ensuring that there's a favorable climate for investment, I do believe that the previous government regime as well as the current government regime has has really tried to ensure that we have proper governance frameworks that will ensure that.
Yeah.
I think we still have a long way to go, because formulating policies is only the first step.
Yes.
Implementing them then becomes the other step that we need to actually actualize.
Yes.
Yes.
And what about when it comes to the capacity, the whole value chain from upstream going on? Do you also feel that, yes, there is that commitment?
Well, it essentially seems contradictory, yes, for government to look at opening up areas for exploration while it's committed to transiting to renewables energy, full transition by 2030.
Yes.
However, it is becoming more evident that that transition may not come as soon as we want it, because as we are right now, government Kenyans are actually feeling the brunt of the crude oil, the crude oil prices globally,
yes,
which is affecting the prices locally. So if you're looking at upstream, then we need to consider being in a situation where we tell investors that in as much as this is one of the industries that has the highest emissions, then we need to be working towards having net zero carbon barrels of crude oil, changing project design to incorporate more renewables, so that we are talking about emissions at scope 3 level, which means that these are the emissions from vehicles. One of the things that, again, in the medium term plan strategy that's supposed to be implemented by Kenya, is that IMF has also put a conditionality that within the next, between 2024 and 2027, that there could be potential of having carbon tax.
Yes.
So for you, as someone who has a vehicle, there could be some tax that will come to you as a result of the scope 3 emissions from the vehicle that you're driving.
Yes.
Yes.
And talking about that, we did see a summit happening and on clean energy, and we saw even the president driving a clean vehicle and talking about electric vehicles and going green. Are we likely to see that seriousness when it comes to climate change, that we even phase out from the combustion engines? And what is even right now the advice that people who want to put up petrol stations and so on getting at the moment?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to attend the Africa Climate Summit, and yes, one of the interesting things is that I saw one of the vehicles that are powered by the EV electric vehicles.
Okay,
yes. And it was going for a whooping 8 million Kenya shillings.
Wow.
And so for any Kenyan,
so it still feels like it's a dream.
It still feels like it's a dream. Yes. We shall get there one day, but I think there needs to be some form of subsidy to encourage Kenyans, yes, to actually uptake more electric vehicles. And so, countries like Norway, for instance, actually do have tax exemptions for people who import EVs. So I think these are some of the strategies that we need to now actually look at when it comes to the implementation bit of it.
Yes, yes.